Okay, so right now you have received notification from the court that the AOS has been returned by your spouse, or they've accepted that you've tried really, really hard, and that your spouse has definitely received it because the bailiff has confirmed that that's what happened. So whatever route you got there, you're now waited. You waited about 14 days and you've got that notification. So now you can apply for the decree nisi. You send that into the court and the judge needs to consider it. And that process takes between 4 and 6 weeks. And this is where your divorce is really starting to become complete. And part of what the judge will be looking at, of course, is, well, how are you splitting the finances? What's happening about the children? So if it's not a very straightforward DIY divorce and you're really self-managing something that's perhaps a little bit more complex, that's where having a very clear agreement, a consent order, an agreement on the finances and how that's been done fairly and intelligently. So the judge will check that out. If they think, well, he's giving it all away to her, but what's he going to live off? His job is to go, well, hang on, that doesn't seem fair. And one of the things to make sure that what you put in to the judge is going to not hold everything up, so that he is or she is going to look at it and go, right, that makes sense, and that looks like a fair and sensible agreement. And oh good, they've thought about the kids, maybe there's a parenting plan, just so the judge knows that you've really looked at that and you've got a plan, right? I think it's really wise, not just because you want to keep things moving smoothly and you want the judge to go, yep, that looks good, but you want to be sure, don't you? So you've come to this financial agreement, and if you've been working with a financial expert on that, then yeah, it's probably going to be pretty good. And you may well have worked perhaps with a mediator to agree over which bits are going to go where, who's going to have what. However you've reached that agreement, you've got what can be called a consent order. And if that goes, before that goes to a judge, it's well worth, even if you've not used lawyers or spent any legal fees at all at this point, of getting independent legal advice at that point. But be careful who you ask. So I would recommend that you choose a solicitor who is perhaps trained in mediation or collaborative law, someone who is going to not want to unbundle all the good work you've done. I'm not saying that many lawyers would do that, but part of their training is to look at something and find holes in it. That's one of the values of what they do. But at the same time, you want someone who appreciates how much work you both put into this and knows that you've really, really thought these things through. So what a good lawyer, and you don't have to spend a fortune on this, you can do it by email and a phone call. So you let them look at your agreement, you each use a different solicitor, and each solicitor will have a conversation and say, look, do you understand the implications of this? And just make sure that you haven't missed a trick anywhere, or that you haven't agreed to something that a judge is going to go, what's this? Because a good solicitor will also understand what kind of things a judge would see as reasonable and fair, because they know the local judges on the circuit. So I would highly recommend that you do, if no other point you use any legal advice, that this is a really good time to have that independent legal advice. So you're both sure, and the judge then knows that you've come to a very reasonable decision and you've checked it out first. And it also means, from a judge's point of view, as far as I understand it, that you're much less likely to be able to come back to court later and go, oh God, I didn't know what I was agreeing to. Because nobody wants that. The courts are busy enough as it is. Because by having that independent legal advice and making that decision, you are committing to that, and as it should be. So that's the financial side. With the children's side, if you can avoid having to have some kind of rock solid legal agreement, that would be good, because children's situation changes, they grow, different things, and legal documents are can be very rigid. You might need that if there's problems in that area, and you've had to restrict child access for some reason, or you've had to go down a more adversarial route on that issue. But most of the time, you should be able to come to some agreements. And if you've made a good plan, parenting plan, it's good for the judge to see that you've done that. So you want to do all the supporting paperwork to really make it as easy as possible for the judge within 4 to 6 weeks to go, yep, this is fine. And that they then will allow you to have your decree nice sign. And that takes us to the next video.